On Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM.
So what if I write a poem like a song?
Good afternoon and welcome to Wax Poetic on Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM. I'm one of your co-hosts today, R.C. Weslowski.
And I'm your other co-host, Pamela Bentley.
And our guest
is
Cynthia
Sharp. Cynthia Sharp. We don't usually do that, but she's like, do I have to repeat everything?
Yeah.
We'll just get you to start with a poem.
Okay, thank you so much for having me on the show. This is the title poem of my new book. It's co-written with one of my poetry heroes, Jude Neal. So this is Rainforest in Russet. In the silence between breaths, my truth rises. I fall into the space where the forest captures light. Is this the question or the answer? To trust this journey of closure. A new opening repertoire. I dig for you in the shadows of dying gray matter to find a slip, a morsel of foggy memory. How we set up your chessboard the night we met. Photograph the pieces in their complicity to be seen as art. The queens, their own fashion statements, balanced in the spotlight. The horses rode across the checkered landscape, free of battle scars or fear. Configurations came and went. We both knew the game transcended competition. Our strategy, a decades-long tango of connection. We played until slivers of dawn shone onto an empty stage. Now at the threshold of rainforest in russet, ash into earth, to whatever is or isn't, I am released.
Sweet, I love that. That's great. There's lots of light references in there. What is that about?
I think light is my theme. And in writing with Jude, for both of us, light is something we're most interested in, and looking for it in dark places, looking to elevate darkness into light, to see everything as it is, without pretending, like take off the rose-colored glasses, see life as it is, and then gently elevate into the light. And so there's quite a lot going on when I was first envisioning this. It came from a meditation. I had a meditation about just about death, because I was thinking about ash. I was wondering if I believe in anything after. And I was coming to peace with the idea that even if this is it, even if it's our bodies in ash going into a rainforest, that's a beautiful place to be. And so I was meditating on end of life and letting go into becoming soil for the rainforest. There was a lot going on there. We also started thinking, when we wrote together, Jude is so encouraging, Jude Neal. So we went out for lunch together in Horseshoe Bay, and she thought, let's write a poem. So we took turns, and she said, well, what did you see in that vision? Let's make it a poem. And we started thinking about how, no matter how wonderful our partnered lives are, in a way, letting go is still something you do alone with the universe. And we reflected back to our partnered lives, and we both look at relationships and how they change, and that they're not a competition, that it's that it's not about a competition, it's about elevating together in love and in light. So that's where the chessboard came from. That really did happen. A partner from a long time ago, we moved in together. We were going to play a game of chess, but instead we had so much fun making art with the pieces that it became about doing art together. The entire relationship was art together, and you take your turns in the spotlight.
Nice. There's a lot of love in this book. Like lots of different relationships and beginnings and thinking back on them, and then the rainforest and nature is there throughout, and the light, like RC said, and orange. You have that long poem about orange, but the orange shows up other places too. And I mean, you probably know this, but you know that that's like the second chakra, right? Yeah, you know that. Of course you know that. From reading your poetry, I should have known you knew that. You're nodding your head.
So
but
what does
I
that mean?
love that came through to you as a reader, because that's something secretly there that I haven't told anyone, is that I'm interested in healing through chakras and chakra light. And so that comes out in my poetry and in my novel as well.
Well, I brought it up because of the light thing, you know, or see mentioning the light and then you saying, oh, yeah. I mean, I didn't catch that exactly, but then I was like, oh, the orange and the light through trees. And
Yeah, where you say, I fall into the space where the forest captures light. I never thought of that space before, and it seems like a really interesting place. What does that place mean to you?
I think it means a lot of things. Like I was mentioning to Pamela earlier that when I first moved here, the rainforest was my place of healing. So it was a place of comfort and healing and relaxation and being in nature. But I also look at it as the light of our lives, the light of who we are, going gently back into the earth at the end and being safe and okay with that. The light of who we are, whether it's a soul, whether it's a physical body, whether it's a brain, that's all going back down into the ecosystem and into the earth. And I find such a peace in accepting that. Whether there's something more or not, there's such a peace in letting our light and ourselves and our energy go back into this ecosystem that's been there for so long.
What was the process that got you to that point of acceptance? Like, have you always kind of been thinking in that way, or is that something that's recent, that sort of awareness for you?
I think it's recent. I turned 50 and I wanted to have a book of poetry out for my 50th birthday, so that happened, so that's good. I came from a Christian background, so a lot of the poetry, you can see the influence of my Christian background. And the most important thing to me in my from my Christian background is altruism. Living our lives altruistically, living in love and grace. And so because I came from a Christian background, I was really influenced by the human being Jesus and his actions. And then starting to, so I've started to let go of some of my other beliefs and just focus on humanitarianism. And then the letting go. A close friend passed away recently without any fear of it. And so in letting go of her ashes and looking at how she lived and how she let go, I've started thinking a lot about our ashes. We scattered her ashes, actually. Her ashes were scattered on my birthday, which is kind of a nice connection. But she was so compassionate and brave and grateful for the life that she's had and where it's going in the whole circle, that I've been thinking a lot about how our bodies go into ash and into the earth, however that is. And how the light that we have in some way lives on after us, whether it's through other people, whether it's in nature.
That's the dream, right?
Yeah, that in some way we continue and we graciously accept that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we do. I feel like we do continue, but maybe not necessarily in the ways that, well, at least I was always taught, you know, like going to heaven and all that sort of stuff. But the ways of this, you carry on in the memories of your friends. You carry on as being part of the earth and coming back into other, you know, that's traditional teachings and stuff, and from way back when and all that kind of thing. You know, where you're actually connected all the time to the earth and all that sort of thing. So yeah, that's interesting. That's great. That's kind of neat. I like talking about that or hearing about that too. That's great.
Yeah, thanks for giving us the opportunity to talk about that. We're getting all deep here on a Wednesday afternoon.
You want to share another poem with us?
Yeah, let's see where this one takes us.
So this one is called the Perseid Showers, which are the meteor showers that fall over North America in August. And it's from the perspective of being in the rainforest during it. So this is it. Perseid showers. Leaf lanterns glow under stars. Dried flowers line an evergreen cathedral. Rainforest lit up. We lie on the cool earth, our own mythology.
So this is just, I was wondering if you were going to read this today, because the Perseid showers were just a couple of days ago. You get the Perseid showers for your birthday almost every year.
It was on the weekend, I think.
It's like a prelude to your birthday every year.
When it rained.
So I'm glad you did. Did you go see? It was cloudy though, wasn't it?
It was
this
cloudy
year?
this year, but in other years, I'm really lucky. My bedroom window just faces out into the
Oh,
stars.
wow.
Oh, nice.
And I watch them falling.
Oh, my
sweet.
gosh.
Yeah, because they were doing not a showing, but in Deep Cove, they were having like, hey, come on up and watch the meteor shower. So I don't know if that. Where do you live?
Well, my best friend Wendy Stevenson lives in Deep Cove, so we do go out there a lot.
Okay.
And I live in Kitsilano with a window that faces beautifully into the stars.
Oh, sweet.
I love that last image. We lie on the cool earth, our own mythology. But those 3 words, our own mythology, it makes me think of, I think it's Aeneas Nin who said, each friendship is a world that isn't created until those 2 people meet. I'm paraphrasing, and I feel like what you said about relationship is true too, right? When people say, well, what do you want in a relationship? It's like, well, whatever we can make together, right? Like what you make it together. Like going in without expectations, right? And making your own mythology, your own story, your own, yeah.
And what is our energy or our connection? Yeah, because every relationship is different. And being open to that.
Tell us a little bit about the book. Publisher and what's the process putting it together? And
It's your first one, right?
It's my first one. I got really lucky. Candace James and Ken Ader at Silverbow are absolutely wonderful. I'm sure all your listeners know. What happened was I was doing a reading in New West, and I wrote The Sojourner's Way to go with the painting. The painting I was writing to was a person going off into a forest on his own in middle age. So how perfect. And when I was doing the presentation, I mentioned that I have thousands of pages all over my apartment in huge piles that may never make it to the light of being published. And then I happened to have been giving Candace a ride home, and they had a cancellation of space open up. And she said, do you really have thousands of pages? Because if you can get me 70, I can do a book for you. So she put it together right away. She got all the rainforest quotes. She got the photo for the cover. And I just went through all my material and got to select ones that fit on the theme of the rainforest. But being invited to participate in that New West artist event where I got to write to a painting was a catalyst. Because the painting I wrote to was about the idea that we have so much. I think as writers, and we have so much material inside ourselves and in our homes that we may never publish. But at the same time, I think whatever we do get out contains all. So I have a line in The Sojourner's Way that only a tiny fraction makes it to the light, makes it to be published, but that fraction embodies all. And so I take peace in that idea that I might never publish some of the novels or screenplays I have percolating around the house and literally all over the living room floor. But the little bit that we do get out makes it. And then Candace just reached out and put all this together for me really quickly.
Wow.
So it's Silverbow Publishing, and where can people get it?
So you can buy them from me at my launch. I'll be giving a discount of $15 per book instead of $20. August 22nd at the Cottage Bistro at 6 p.m. And you can also buy it from the Silverbow website. And I have them on me, so if you see me anywhere, I'm really happy to sell a few copies.
Sweet. So that's next Wednesday then, I guess, is the launch.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
From 6 to 7:30 p.m. We're starting right away because we get booted off stage at 7:30.
Oh.
Yeah, I originally thought about asking for next Wednesday, and I saw how early it was, and I thought she's probably not going to be wanting to do that in the afternoon with her first launch and give you a little bit of breathing space. You've also been posting that you've been watching the rankings on Amazon, so it's also available on Amazon, correct?
It is. Amazon. You can just Google Rainforest in Russet. We got very lucky with our Amazon ratings. I'm so grateful to everyone who's buying copies through North America. We went up to number 3 for a while.
Oh, wow.
In Canadian poetry and number 20 in international poetry. So.
And you're in very good company on that Canadian poetry list. I didn't realize they had a list for just Canadian poetry, but yeah, there's a lot of big name heavy hitters on the jostling on the listings with you. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Congratulations.
And actually, I did go out and at least request Heartwood at my local library. Heartwood by the League of Poets has so many great poems in it. That was on the list, and we're trading places back and forth.
But you work for the League of Poets? No, you don't work for the League of Poets.
No, I volunteer for the Federation of BC Writers. I'm on the board for that.
You've been writing for a long time. You went through the writer's studio, is that correct? Everybody I know who's gone through the writer's studio pretty much has been published now. I mean, I don't know what it is. Do they like teach you to think of yourself as a writer? What is it in that program?
I know, it's one of the best programs you could ever do, because like Pamela said, I've been writing my whole life, and the writer's studio and Candace James got me published. The writer's studio, I think it teaches us to take ourselves seriously as writers, just the way we are. It helps us clean up our act a little bit. It helps us edit. It helps us learn to trust our internal editor, which for me is really important. Writer Cynthia had full control, hence the papers all over the place, out of control. And yeah, the writer's studio taught me. My mentors, Eileen Cook and Fiona Tinwai Lam, taught me to edit, taught me to put editor Cynthia at the wheel, and to let editor Cynthia take out, some of the extra words, some of the extra things. They taught us to focus on one thing at a time. And they supported us in every way possible. They created an amazingly safe space. I can't say enough good things about the writer's studio. They create a community. I even did it online, and some of my closest friends are the people who are in that program with me. And we support each other. We come to each other's launches. We hold events for each other in different cities and towns. We joined the Federation of BC Writers together, a whole group of us who graduated from there. So,
when did you take it?
I did it in 2015, 2016, and I focused on fiction. And then I also did a month with Fiona Tinwai Lam on poetry, and have a book out of that.
Yeah,
so
that's great.
I can't say enough good things about that program.
When you said the help in that program that helped you focus, was that more like focus on a theme per poem rather than throwing in a whole pile of different ideas, or what did you mean by that?
I think focus on editing one poem at a time. Yeah, and for me for sure, it was focus on one idea per poem, because I'm really good at having way too many ideas going on in one thing. So they taught me to take some of that out, and this poem's just about tulips. There's a little bit of Ophelia still in there, but maybe my whole Shakespeare obsession can go to another poem. Or maybe 3 ideas per poem is plenty. And I need to pare it down. So yeah, they gently helped, they built up her confidence when they told us what was working, which we need to hear. And they gently help people like myself who have too many ideas, who have an abundance of ideas, focus down and polish a couple up and do one piece at a time and move on. So that was incredible for me. Other people need help getting started, and they offer that too. Some people need help starting, and they definitely offer that as well. But so I think they reach us wherever we're at and help us do what we need to do. I need to take the pieces I have, take my 80 poems, I still have 500 pages at home, take my 80 poems and polish them into something I could publish.
Do you want to read another one of those poems?
I would love to.
Yeah, let's get some. You're listening to Wax Poetic here on Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM. It's coming up to 20 minutes past the hour. And our guest today is Cynthia Sharp.
I'm going to read to you the poem The Sojourner's Way, based on a painting from the art show in New West. In the haven of silence, I no longer carry everyone's blind spots. Put some of it down. Let nirvana return. Fallen tree uprooted no more. Thunder, rain, time. Cherry petals in a sea of blue. The swoosh of a sand stream emptied of unwanted current. Gentle mist beyond. Slow journeys. The softness of wind in birch leaves. Heart of green earth. Breathing these afternoons before I go to forest. Only a tiny fraction makes it to the light, but that fraction embodies all.
That's just what you were talking about before.
Nice. We're getting a phone call, but we can't answer it because we're live. So if you're phoning right now, that's very exciting. We don't usually get phone calls during the show. Somebody must be really liking your poetry. Give us a call back at 2:31 and we can answer the phone and talk to you. Let's hear another one, because we'd already heard kind of about that poem. So let's hear another one.
So I'm going to go with How to Honor the Moon, which is one I wrote for a nature and spirituality column that I write monthly. This is like the fragrant colors of May, descending like manna from citrus-tinted branches of blossoms in the rain, like the silence of the days, a flow of unspoken story, moving softly through an abundance of petals, like current dreams, traveling light, an orchid that slowly, courageously opens. She is always near, blessing our sanctuary, no matter how far we travel from the rhythms of home. Be gentle with her spirit. Allow for her light. Every broken moment made whole in her divinity.
I love how your voice it matches the content.
Oh, thank you.
It just matches the content. And you're always smiling. I've seen you at readings, and you're almost always smiling. You've been smiling the whole time you've been on here today. That joy comes through in the poetry. Is that also the light, or?
I think so, and especially these ones that I wrote for a Japanese e-magazine, Cradle Our Spirit. The magazine formed after the tsunami as a fundraiser, and so there was an emphasis on lightness and healing without mentioning the tsunami, without mentioning the suffering in Japan, that, farmers in Japan still need help and are too polite to ask. So it was a fundraiser, but we wanted to get into lightness, and we wanted to get into just gentle, being able to gently feel the cherry petals, being able to gently feel what's still here. And so I'm really grateful that comes across.
There's a word that I learned from one of your poems. I had to look it up, which encompasses what you're talking about and the sound of your voice, which was ataraxia. Is that how you pronounce it? Which is like an extreme calmness, or I mean, not extreme, but just this very. Is that how you would define it? Yeah, I had never seen or heard that word before. I was like, is that related to ataxia? Is that a typo?
Where did you know that word from?
I work as an editor, so it's my job to look things up, and I love my great big huge real life dictionary that I use to look things up. And as I'm looking up the spelling of the words in the documents I need to edit for a living, I come across amazing words that must be put into poems.
I got to use this one.
And I'm not allowed to use them in my novels for kids because those are too big, I get told. So they fit perfectly in poems. And ataraxia, of course, is one of those words. And there are a couple that selenophilia is one of them, love of the moon. I go through the dictionary, I'm like, I must use these 10 words. These words must be used. They're too beautiful to just keep passing by.
Do you do the CV2 word? Because it's around this time of year, isn't it? What do they give you? 10 words and you have to use them all, and you have 2 days to write it?
That's been, I think, where some of my best poems come from. So I haven't ever placed in that contest, but my poem Baptism came from that contest. I feel like the words write the poem themselves. They give you these amazing words like garrulous and things that we wouldn't normally use.
I'm always amazed, because you say they write themselves, but I'm always amazed at the huge variety that people come up with the same 10 words, like all the different places that it goes. You've mentioned now editing, you've mentioned writing kids' books, and you've mentioned a column that you write for Sacred and... Wow, this is a lot going on. Do you want to say any more about any of those things, or all of those things?
Well, I think poetry's been the easiest, which is why I love it so much. Poetry's been the easiest kind of work to get out into the world, and so my little bit of light comes through in poetry, but I think that it all goes together. I think my work as an editor feeds me as a poet. I get the vocabulary. Getting to work with kids also helps me meet deadlines, because they ask you every day, like, is the book out yet? The one that's dedicated to me, is it out yet? So if it hadn't been for those students I tutor asking me every day if the book is out, I probably wouldn't be. The Light Bearers on the $100 Graviton is a little book I have out on Amazon as well.
The Light Bears on the $100 Graviton? Is that what you said? Okay.
So I have this bad habit of talking really quickly as the time goes out.
I just thought I'd repeat it for if anybody wanted to look it up.
What is the column about? Like you said, nature and spirituality, but what do you...
Well, they're a group of healers, which is where we get my interest in chakra energy. So they're a group of Japanese healers that I get to do healing events with. And we all also write a little bit in there, prose and poetry. So I also offer workshops on healing through writing. Healing through poetry and healing through writing, where our goal is to just create a really safe space and let people go back to themselves.
Where can people find that?
So if you look up, my column is Movement in Light, and the magazine is Cradle Our Spirit e-magazine. I think if you Google Movement in Light Cynthia Sharp, you'll find my monthly columns, and of course they're free to read there. So.
That's great. Thank you.
So we're going to run out of time quickly. So let's mention your book launch again. Tell us where and when.
So it's August 22nd, next Wednesday, at the Cottage Bistro. We're going to start sharp at 6 p.m. So we have a big lineup of awesome people in the open mic in addition to myself.
Who else is reading?
Lilia Vallis, William Ellis, just a whole lot of people. Angel, the songwriter from New West. We have 2 children who are reading.
Oh, cool.
Which I'm really looking forward to. My friends' children are going to be on stage reading their poetry. It's a child-friendly event.
Yeah, that sounds like
great.
fun.
Lots of great poets from around the greater Vancouver area. Jude Neal's coming in from Bowen Island. She'll be reading. So,
and you.
And myself. I'll be on for 15 minutes.
Great.
Just 15?
15 to 20.
Only
you can come and hear me.
15.
Yeah.
And then hear people I'm inspired by.
Well, your book also has a lot of short poems, haikus, short poems. Can you read one of those really quick, and then that'll be the end of it?
I would love that. So this is For All the Flowers. There is nowhere that I need to be, only the desire to stand out in the sun.
Lovely. That's a great way to end it.
Mm-hmm. Our guest today has been Cynthia Sharp here on Wax Poetic on Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5.